Do you think you might be married to a narcissist? By the end of this video, you'll know the glaring signs that you're married to a narcissist. Hi, I'm Rebecca Zung, top 1% divorce attorney and the best-selling author of the books Negotiate Like You Matter and Breaking Free, a step-by-step divorce guide. And I share all my knowledge, secrets, tips, and tricks right here with you on this channel. So before we go any further, make sure you hit that subscribe button, smash that notification bell so that you will be notified every time I upload new content. Now, if you suspect that you are married to a narcissist, well, then you probably are. But here are the actual warning signs. So before we dive into the actual warning signs, let's talk about narcissism in general. Narcissism, or narcissistic personality disorder, is a legitimate personality disorder. It is a mental disorder that, of course, obviously manifests itself in a horrific way, but it is an actual mental disorder. Some people might not be diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder. They might just have narcissistic tendencies or narcissistic personality traits, something like that, just the same as others who might have other types of personality disorders or traits of personality disorders. But narcissism is an actual personality disorder where somebody has an inflated sense of themselves, a deep need for attention, and a lack of empathy for others. The thing about narcissists is that they have zero sense of internal value. And I've talked about this in some of my other videos as well. They're like the hollow chocolate Easter bunnies that, you know, there's this shell, but inside there's nothing. They don't feel anything for anyone but themselves. They have a complete lack of empathy because they feel so empty inside all the time. And so the only way that they get any sense of value whatsoever is through the external, through what we call narcissistic supply, which is what it comes in the form of compliments, prestige, money, even control over others, anything that makes them feel that external sense of value, because they have no internal sense of value. So there are 3 different types of narcissists, but they all have basically the same traits. So you'll see your covert narcissist, which is what I call the wolf in sheep's clothing. And then there's the overt or grandiose narcissist, which is your regular garden variety narcissist, the one that we normally think of with narcissists, the one that goes around telling everybody how great they are all the time. And then there's the malignant narcissists, which are the ones that can be way more dangerous, way more toxic. They're the ones that can tend to even be violent sometimes, stalking, things like that. I call them the Darth Vaders of the narcissists. So while they can be broken down into 3 different categories, the psychiatrists have identified what the 7 characteristics are of narcissists. And I believe they say that if you have 5 of them, then you can be actually diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder. But, you know, the thing is, most narcissists are not ever diagnosed because they don't go to psychiatrists because they don't think there's anything wrong with them. So it's really hard to say how many people actually have been diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder, or how many people just have the traits of narcissism or the traits of lacking empathy or feeling anything for anyone else. And, you know, if each one of these people abuses 5 people in their lifetime, which it's probably way more than that, but if they abuse only 5, then, you know, we're talking about a major piece of the population, or a major percentage of the population have become victims of narcissists. And, you know, one of the other points that I want to make here before I go into what the actual signs are of narcissism is that narcissists and empaths do have a symbiotic personality with, attraction for each other. Empaths tend to kind of almost sense that insecurity in the narcissist and somehow feel like if you just love them enough, you just give them enough, you just do enough for them, that somehow that you'll be able to solve whatever their problems are or heal them in some way, or they'll see how wonderful you are. And it just becomes a relationship of give, 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 give. And then the narcissist continues to just take, 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 take. And, it leaves you actually feeling empty inside. You actually feel like a shell of yourself, because they're just trying to grab all that supply from you as they possibly can. Narcissists are attracted to the same people that everybody are attracted to. They want to be with people who have wonderful characteristics, who are giving, loving, who are leaders or have accomplished a lot, or who are seen by others as wonderful. And, they want some of what you have. They want to attach yourself to you to take that from you. They attach themselves almost like pods. They're like leeches or parasites that are just, they literally drain the life out of you. So if you are in a relationship with a narcissist, the chances are that you're probably an empath, which means that you're a wonderful person, a compassionate person, and you're just have been giving to the point that, it literally drains the life out of you. So going back to the 7 deadly sins of narcissism, the first one is shamelessness. Narcissists don't feel any external sense of shame. They have a deep-rooted sense of shame that's inside of them, but they cover it up by being shameless to the external world. They're not bound by things that other people are bound by. Like, they're not ashamed to just go after something that wouldn't even normally be theirs, or it's not theirs, but they just do it anyway. They're proudly and openly shameless. They're not bound by emotional needs of others or wishes of others. Within this thing of shamelessness, they also loathe criticism, and they consider it toxic. They're very easily slighted. Like, just the slightest amount of tone, or even if there is no tone or nothing meant by anything, they sense it anyway. It's like a dog with a dog whistle, like, only they can hear it, even if it doesn't even exist. And, any little whiff of anything that they're not perfect, or that they need to change, that there's something wrong with them, then it triggers their narcissistic rage and their narcissistic injury. And then, you get the wrath of that. Okay, number 2 is magical thinking. Narcissists want to see themselves as perfect. And so they distort and filter everything through that lens. And so what that means is that anything that you point out to them that they're not perfect, they're going to project it onto others. They'll never take responsibility for their own actions. And so they will, even if you show them proof of here's how you lied, or here's what you said, they'll distort. Well, that it's your fault because blah, blah, blah. Like, they won't even address that. Suddenly it'll become all about you, or all about a different person. You can point out to someone, you said you were going to do this, you didn't. Well, it's because I couldn't, because blah, blah, blah. It's always someone else's fault, somebody else's responsibility, someone else's problem. And within the magical thinking is gaslighting, and this is all a form of gaslighting, trying to make you think that you're the one that's crazy. And I have a whole video on gaslighting tactics, and especially gaslighting tactics in divorce or breakups, and the kinds of things that they do in those times. And I will put a link to that video below. You're definitely going to want to check that out. So number 3 is arrogance. And if you're dealing with a covert narcissist, you're not going to see the arrogance right on the surface, because covert narcissists are much better at hiding their arrogance. They're much better about not being so boastful and saying, I'm the great one. And if you need to know more about covert narcissists, I will definitely drop a link to videos that I've done on covert narcissism and the covert passive aggressive narcissist below. You want to check those out. But even when you're dealing with covert narcissists, they still have that sense of arrogance, that sense that everyone should kowtow to them, that that they're superior to others. And so when they feel deflated, or when they feel that sense of inferiority kicking in, the way they deal with that is reinflate their sense of self-importance by diminishing others, by debasing others, by degrading someone else, putting someone else down, being very judgmental, and basically trying to take away any sense of value for the person that might be degrading them or debasing them or devaluing them in any way. Okay, and number 4 is envy. And all narcissists have a great sense of envy. They are very jealous of other people. They're jealous of other people's accomplishments. They try to minimize other people's accomplishments, try to bring them down in some way. They just don't want anything to take away from them, because if someone else is achieving something or someone else is getting something, then somehow for them that they think that means that it's taking away from them in some way. If this is sounding familiar so far, give me an exactly in the comments. Okay, and number 5 is entitlement. Narcissists feel entitled. They feel entitled to things that aren't even theirs. You know, they'll take credit for projects that aren't theirs to take credit for. They just feel like they should be having the best table, the best everything. They should be getting promotions that they didn't even work for or weren't supposed to get. They just feel entitled to everything. And if, you know, they have these unreasonable expectations, and if they don't get this favorable treatment or this automatic compliance that they think that they should have because they're so special, then it is considered an attack. You know, even if you just want to move on with your life and have everything be split up normally, like 2 normal people, like whatever's fair under the law, well, they're not going to want to do that because that's considered an attack on them. And, you know, whether you want to leave or they want to leave, either way, you're in for it, because if you leave or you don't give them what they want, then it, you know, it triggers their narcissistic injury and narcissistic rage. But even if they want to leave, they can't be seen as the wrong one. They have to make it your fault, your problem, somehow, so that they come out being the one that smells like the rose. So entitlement is definitely one of the main personality traits for a narcissist. So number 6 is exploitation. And this can take many forms, but basically they have no regard for others, so they use others. So they use them for whatever they think they need to use them for, whether it's, you know, money, prestige, you know, being associated with that person because they think it elevates their status in some way, using them to meet people that they might want to meet, using them to get a job that they want. You know, people are only there for their use, because your only value to a narcissist is whatever value you can bring to them. And then even when you bring value to them, that's just like the privilege of being in their space. Like, you know, you're not going to get any appreciation or recognition for bringing value to them. Like, that's just the cost of payment for being around them. So, and if you can't bring value to them, then, you know, that's where they go into the discard phase. And there's 3 different phases of a narcissistic relationship, which I will talk about in another video, but it's love bombing, devaluing, and then discard. So you see, you know, the discard once your value is no longer there anymore. So anyway, the number 6 thing is exploitation, which is, you know, where they use other people for their own gain. And number 7 is no boundaries. They don't recognize boundaries. Um, it's all part of, the fact that they believe that everything is theirs and that whole sense of entitlement thing. But basically, you have to respect their boundaries that they don't respect yours. That's how that goes. And it can take many different forms. I mean, showing up at your place of business, calling you, texting you, expecting to know where you are at all times, expect you to answer the phone when they want you to, or be right there, but you don't have, they don't give you the same thing in return. They don't tell you anywhere where they're going or what they're doing, things like that. So it's part of their narcissistic supply, is that they exert this control over you by not recognizing your boundaries. If these are all sounding familiar to you, or even some of them or most of them, then you're probably married to a narcissist, and you're going to want to make sure you check out my next video, which is going to be the effects of being married to a narcissist. And if you are married to a narcissist, definitely check out my video on self-care to cope with a narcissist. You have to take care of yourself. As I said earlier on in this video, they do drain the life out of you. And I will drop a link to that video below as well. If you are getting ready to negotiate with a narcissist, you're definitely going to want to check out my Crush My Negotiation prep worksheet. That I will drop a link to that below as well. It is chock full of tons of information, and you will not want to walk in to that negotiation without having that in your hands and having done the exercises that I suggest to do in there. If you feel like you need additional support, I have a free Facebook group. It's Narcissist Negotiators with Rebecca Zung, and I will drop a link to that below. And feel free to join that if you feel like you want to connect with others who are dealing with what you are dealing with as well. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to my channel and hit that little notification bell so that you can be notified every time I upload a new video. And if you like today's video, give it a like, give it a share, drop me a comment below. I would love to hear from you. And I'm so glad that you stopped by here today. I will see you in the next video. And remember that today is a great day to start negotiating your best life.